Hey y'all, I'm Royce. I'm a little under the weather, but I'm gonna get this out. So, this is my story about how my life changed beginning July 31st, 2004 to now, all because I had a baby by Superman. Part 1. July 31st, 2004, I was at the movies at downtown Disney with two of my friends. When three male figures walk in, one looking to be about an inch away from being a midget, the other very skinny and he had a bad acne problem, and another one who is extremely tall. As they come over to the concession stand, we are greeted with, "Y'all in my book." Our response was, "What book?" He goes, "My yearbook." I then respond, "No, sweetie, I'm grown." He goes, "No, my magic book. Y'all used to dance with the magic." Oh, yes, yes. He's like, "I'm the rookie." Oh, hey. That's how that went. Okay? And he was talking about, oh, y'all not dancing this year, that we left them with the Lion King. Like, it was just, it was a bunch of niceties and goofiness, and that was it. He still had braces. It was nothing. So we go to see The Notebook, and they go to see something that I used to think was Transformers, but it was something along those lines. I don't know. Maybe iRobot. I don't know. Anyway, about 10-20 minutes into our movie, I go to the bathroom because I am now in a full blown like argument with my then boyfriend, who is breaking up with me because he is swearing that I'm at the movies with a dude. Obviously, I am not, but he was very insecure, and it was just an ongoing thing with us. So, um, we broke up that day, and I was devastated because what? I got dumped. Anyway, walk out the bathroom, and Superman is sitting there on the bench. And he goes, "No one should ever make you cry like that." Okay, thank you. And he's like, "Nah, you know what I'm saying? Nah, I'm young, but like, no man should ever make you feel like that." He had braces. So I'm like, again, thank you. And I go on about my business, and I go back to the movie. And I'm in the movie doing all of this, of course, on my little aim, my little sidekick. But by the end of the movie, I'm just kind of over it. So we're walking out the theater, and they're leaning on the car like they're in Boys in the Hood. So we're walking across the street, and his cousin comes up to me, which is the one with the acne problem, and he goes, "Hey, my cousin trying to holler at you." And I was like, "Well, why is your cousin not over here?" So he calls him over, and yes, we exchanged numbers. And yes, it probably was because, not even probably, it was because I was trying to make my now ex jealous. It is what it is. I was 24, whatever. So his first text to me was, "Hey, this is real name, the tall guy." So if you've ever seen me put TG on something, or like heard about that nickname, that's where that came from. So anyway, fast forward, 2 months go by, and I have not gone out with him. I haven't really said too much to him outside of like AIM and T-mail. So I was just being an asshole. Well, realizing that my relationship is now over for real, my dad is like, "Well, why not just go and like hang out?" He's like, "You don't have to like do anything." He's like, "But just hang out. Have like some male companionship." Not like that, but just someone to hang out with and have fun that enjoys doing like goofy shit like me, right? So we decide that we're gonna go to the movies at Festival Bay, which is now changed names probably like 20 times. But we go to those movies, and I'll never forget this day because this is when I felt the shift. But it was a man and his son. And the son ran up to me and was like, "Oh my God, you're a magic dancer." And I'm like, "Yeah, I am." That never happens, y'all. People don't know the magic dancers here. Like, no, for real. People don't know the magic dancers at all. So I was like taken aback, and he asked if he could take a picture. He pulls out a real camera, and he takes a picture. After that day, there was a shift. I started getting invited to promos, to fashion shows, to theme parks. Like, team events. I was everywhere. And I had stated a few times that I was thinking about going back to dance, and he was against it. So I did a brand ambassador tour with Cherry Vanilla Dr. Pepper, came back, and I said, I've made up my mind. Like, I'm doing this. Um, and was he being supportive of things that I was doing? Yes. He was at the fashion shows that I did with Gaucher. Yes, that Gaucher. Hey, girl. He was coming to my parties. I mean, he was around. So I'm not going to say like he wasn't doing anything. He was. But I wanted my career. I went back. The team took me back, knowing what our history was. I danced that year. The next year, I said I wanted to go to Miami. I said I wanted to dance for the Heat. That was my dream team, either there or the Dallas Cowboys. And both of those he was completely against, and I had no idea why. He would offer like our suggestions for other teams, but never those two. Just completely against anything in Texas and Miami. Now you'll know why. I audition for the team. I make it. Yay me. And after a couple weeks, there's a couple girls that are just treating me weird, and I didn't know why. Well, I ended up finding out that he had cheated on me with one of my teammates who used to live in Texas, but now was coming to the Heat, and he had been trying to get both of us to not say anything. Anyway, broke up with him and was trying to live my best life, y'all. Really was, right? And I ended up getting in an argument with one of my best friends on the team that you all know as Super Black Girl, Tracy. Got in an argument with her, so I was suspended for 2 weeks. So I went to Mexico with my DJ friend, and we had time of our life, whatever. Came back, and my phone is blowing up, my little sidekick, and it's him. And I'm asking for advice from my DJ friend, and he's like, hey, just go and talk to him. Just see what he got to say. Just hear him out. Like, maybe he really is sorry. Okay. I go to the hotel, and at first he wasn't in there because he was at, like, team meetings. But then he comes in, and we're in there, and we're talking, and he's pleading his case and asking for forgiveness, talking about how much he loves me and that he'll never do it again, that I'm the one for him, I'm perfect this, perfect that. All these things, y'all. And I said I would think about it. I said, I'll talk to you later. So I walked to the room, or I walked to the door, and he pulls me back with my arm, and he's like, well, can I at least have a hug? Sure. That hug turned into kissing and touching and our child being conceived. I did not know I was pregnant until about a little over a month later when I was in practice, and one of the dancers who, funny story, ended up marrying the head coach of, that's not important, sorry. So after practice, I go to Walgreens and I buy a pregnancy test, and I take it home, take the test, call my brothers and girlfriend, wait for the results, and when I see them, I start bawling. I literally lost it. I saw my entire career just disappear, and I was devastated. I called my mom in the same state of mind. She's losing it. She's freaking out until I finally tell her, like, I'm pregnant. She goes, oh, I thought you killed somebody. That's how hard I was crying. She asked me if I had told him, and I said, I've been texting him. I've been texting his cousin. I've been texting his best friend, and nobody was responding. And I said, Mom, I cannot be a mother. And I said, please help me. Like, I cannot be a mom. I'm not ready to be a mother. And she was like, well, you're going to have to tell your dad. So for 2 days, I waited for a response. And when I finally got one, the response was, I was asleep. I responded, for 2 days, you just played a game in Milwaukee last night. And then he responded, I thought you were on birth control. Hey y'all, it's Royce. And this is my story about how my life changed beginning July 31st, 2004 to now, all because I had a baby by Superman, part 2. We left off with, I thought you were on birth control. I like for it to be noted that I had not been on birth control our entire relationship. He was very aware, and also as to why he was not against it. Also, I'd like for it to be noted that there was no attempt to pull out that particular day, whereas in the past he would move so fast that he would run into the dresser drawers. So let's continue. About a week went on, and there was a little bit of communication, and the communication was regarding terminating the pregnancy. I was told that he would help me. I just needed to get to Orlando, and we would do it there. I said, okay, not a problem. Just know it has to be a quick turnaround because I have to get back to work, and I can't let my parents know. Please understand, I had no idea how abortions worked at all. So I'm thinking that I could just get up and turn around. Anyway, communication ceased again. Now I'm having to talk to my parents. I talked to my mom again. She was adamant about me telling my dad. So I told my dad, and my dad was like, huh? And I'm like, huh, what? He goes, all right. And I said, well, I don't want you to worry because I'm not going to keep the baby. I'm going to terminate the pregnancy, and then I'm going to finish the season out. I'm going to go to Vegas. I'm going to fulfill this contract that I got with Treasure Island. Like, I had all these plans, and I was going to pursue my career. And he was like, no. He's like, you're going to have to put that on hold. And I was like, what are you talking about? He was like, you were woman enough to lay down. You're going to be woman enough to keep this baby. Now, back then, it wasn't a decision that was just easily made where you could just go to a clinic, okay? It was also extremely expensive, especially for someone who was dancing on basketball courts in booty shorts and a half top. So my mom did not give me the money, and I was now stuck. And I was asking friends. I was trying to just figure out anything I could do. It even got to the point where I was drinking magnesium citrate, or I was trying to use a hanger. It was bad. It was bad. But when I went to the doctor and I heard the heartbeat, that is when things were put into a bigger perspective for me. I don't know what it is, but when you hear that heartbeat, it changes you. And I knew then that I was going to be a mom. And so now it's time to tell Superman that he is having a baby. And as you can imagine, that message was not received well. And I was met with a bunch of, oh, you're tarnishing my image, you're ruining my career. I'm a Christian, what I look like having a baby, and I'm trying to put the cross on the NBA logo. How could you do this to me? You're a gold digger. Oh yeah, I was hit with everything, y'all. Like I didn't have a career. But because none of those changed my mind, he then hits me with, and I have a girlfriend. Okay. I've always had a girlfriend. Oh, wow. Okay. So now I'm realizing, y'all, that not only is this person a completely different person than I thought he was, but I've realized that he is a master manipulator, and he will do any and everything to get exactly what he wants. I didn't fall for it. And because I didn't fall for it, I was then met with hell on earth. When I was about 4 or 5 months pregnant, I was asked to attend a meeting at a restaurant right around the corner from my townhome. I agreed to it, and when I got there, one of the first things said to me was, you don't look pregnant. I said, thank you. They said, no, because you have your belly ring in still. Mind you, I had already had this conversation before about wearing a belly ring while I was pregnant. I just liked it. But then they said that it just looks like you're poking your stomach out. Why am I here? Like, what the fuck y'all got going on? What do you want? Right? We sit down, and in this meeting is his manager, his cousin, himself. I am then offered money. I'm asking what the money is for. I'm thinking that maybe it's to help me with my pregnancy. No. I was asked to move away and say that this baby was not his. Twice. I declined. They got angry. I was then approached by the team office, and they wanted me to come in and have a sit-down conversation and do a prenatal paternity test. My doctor said absolutely not. Therefore, I said no. It was dangerous, and once the baby came, I was not opposed to doing so. For the next couple months, I got ready for a baby shower. I got ready with my baby registry. And every time I did anything, I was met with false accusations. I was threatened with the baby registry. I was told to take his name off of there. And I did. For the baby shower invitations, I was told to take the name off of there. So I did. But I still was getting threatened. I was still receiving anonymous messages on MySpace and Twitter. And I didn't know what to do. Around early November, I started having really bad complications with my pregnancy, and I was put on bed rest. I didn't listen, but I was put on bed rest. As hard as it was to sit still, it was something that I knew I needed to do because I could tell something was wrong. On November 16th, I had a doctor's appointment, and my doctor was like, you need to go to the hospital, and they need to put you on a monitor. Stop letting them tell you that you're dehydrated. I said, okay, cool. We go to the hospital. They still don't put me on the monitor, and I'm just over it, and I go home. Around 3:33 that next morning, November 16th, I woke up to excruciating pain. I threw something down the stairs. My brother came up, who had been staying with me. I told him I needed to go to the hospital. We go to the hospital. They finally put me on a monitor, and they're like, oh my gosh, you're having contractions for real. No shit. They say that they're going to admit me. I said, until how long? They said, until you have this baby. Oh, cool. Tell my mom everything. This is also during Classic Weekend. 54 and a half hours, I was in labor, and my child was delivered via C-section. They knew the day that I went into the hospital, they knew the complications I was having. They knew that the child's heart rate had been dropping, and not one person cared. Not one person responded to that at all. But when they found out that the baby was born, an immediate message came through to my mother asking for a picture. I said, send the picture. She sent the picture, and the response was, oh, that's my grandbaby. To me, all babies look alike when they're born, so whatever, but hey, go off. I was thinking that maybe that was going to be a start to something better, but it was actually the gateway to hell. For the next 3 days, I stayed in the hospital, and not one time did I receive a visit from him or anyone in his family, but his girlfriend actually did stop by unannounced and uninvited with a bag of bibs talking about we needed to speak. I said, no, we don't. Asked her to leave, and she left. It was cool. Well, a few days later, I was discharged from the hospital the day before Thanksgiving, actually. And on Thanksgiving, we go to my cousin's every single year, who stayed right around the corner from him. He kept saying that he was going to come by, that he was around the corner, that he was about to ring the doorbell. All these things, kept saying that he was coming by. Y'all, he never showed up. We then ended up taking a paternity test at a neutral location, even though the team had asked me to take it at their offices, and I said, hell no, because I don't trust them. We took it at a neutral location. The results came back on Christmas Eve. He acted like he was excited, wanted to see the baby the next day, Christmas. I said, cool. Christmas comes. He's like, who all over there? And he wanted to see him by himself. I said, absolutely not. I'm not telling my family to leave. They're my support system. So they stayed. He comes in. He's with his cousin. His cousin is taking all these pictures. I'm not taking pictures. His cousin's taking pictures. Next thing we know, a few days later, these pictures that his cousin has taken, one in particular where he's laying on the sofa and our child is on his shoulder, has now gone, like, I guess back then, viral. And everybody now knows that Superman has a baby. Hey y'all, it's Royce. And I'm back again to tell you about how my life changed beginning July 31st, 2004, and still now, all because I had a baby by Superman, part 3. We are now in January of 2008, and I am at my cousin's house, the same cousin that stays around the corner from him. He calls and he says that he wants to come and have a talk with me. I said, okay. He comes by. Superman is bearing gifts. There's a brand new car outside for me, a Lexus SUV, a brand new Sidekick phone, and he offers to buy me a house. After talking it over with my dad, my mom, it was absolutely not, because the house is not going to be in your name, and it's something that he can take from you at any moment if he gets mad. So I declined it. He then said, well, let me refurnish your townhouse. Okay. I was not asked about any type of furniture. They just showed up at my door one day and just started bringing stuff in. No lie. I had no say so. When it came down to me needing diapers and bottles and now formula, because I'm no longer able to breastfeed, my body wasn't producing enough milk. His mom did at one point come by with a bunch of diapers. I was very thankful. But that was it. There was nothing else. There was no help. There was nothing. At this point, I auditioned for a dancing gig at Holy Land. And I got the gig, so I began dancing in late January. So now I have a job. I'm working. On the days that I had to work, my child was with my parents, and on occasion, he would be with his father and the nanny and his girlfriend. Well, there were days where he would come home from seeing or spending time with his father, and he would be very colicky, throwing up, like sick. I mean, fevers, would have to take him to the doctor. It was a lot. That relationship he was in ended. I find out later on that the reason my child was returned super colicky, sick, throwing up, all these things, only to then be told it was because they were purposely giving him food that was opposite of what he was eating. I would pack a bag and I would have it listed of what he should be eating for lunch, for dinner, all these things. And he was intentionally given the opposite. So when he would be returned home, he was sick, colicky, throwing up, having to go to the hospital. When I confronted the situation, I was told that that was a lie and that it was only done because they thought I was trying to micromanage, and they decided that they were just going to give him whatever they wanted to give him. Okay. I let it go, y'all. Now, again, we've had the birthday party. We've had our Christmas. Things seem to be going okay, right? We've now gone to mediation, and in mediation we agreed to a child support number, and it was drastically, probably a third of what one of my attorneys was requesting. I said that I didn't want to seem like I was out for his money, so I was okay with the amount that was given. Totally fine. Moving forward, I start dating. Now all of a sudden it's, I think we should make this work. This is your first kid. This is, my first kid. Let's make this work. Now, this is where I could probably be stupid. Well, I was dumb. I saw family. And I am a very forgiving person. If you know anything about me, I forgive way too much. So we decided to work on a relationship. Crazy, right? But we did. Almost immediately, I regretted it. I was forced to do things sexually that I did not necessarily agree with. But because I wasn't that experienced, I thought it was normal. And I never complained about it. I just felt like this was me experiencing things that maybe he has experienced and I have not. That's when things started turning verbally and physically and also mentally abusive. I was told that I was stupid. I was told that nobody would ever want me. I was told that everybody here loved him and hated me. And how does it feel to have my hometown turn on me? I better not ever leave him. If I left him ever, he would make my life a living hell. And he did. There were days that I would be at his home and I was threatened with a knife, and then it was laughed off. But when the knife was in my face, it was, I could kill you right now and get away with it because I could claim self-defense and they would believe me and not you, because who are you? That happened. He came to my house one day to pick up our child, and because I did not have a bag packed or orange Trident gum or soda in my refrigerator, He followed me into our child's closet and he grabbed me and he pushed me to the floor and said, in the future, I better have his bag waiting. I then left. I go out into the family room and I'm telling his best friend, the one that's an inch away from being a little person, and I'm like, get your friend. He's going crazy. What's wrong with him? Well, he comes in there and he, in front of his best friend, as well as my goddaughter, my other goddaughter, he grabs my hair and he forces me to the floor. And he's like, who the are you talking to? Our child, who is not even 2 yet, is thinking he's playing. So he's grabbing at his leg with his baby voice and he throws me into the entertainment center. When he threw me into the entertainment center, it broke the door. So I was flung into the one on the right, and our son, who was grabbing him and like thinking he was playing, he then flung him into the other door. I do not think that was intentional. I don't think he knew his own strength, but that's what he did, and it did break that door as well. Our son started crying. His best friend was like, man, what you doing? Like, you know, that's a female. And he's just not caring. That's when I realized, like, oh my God, I'm in a relationship that I swore I would never be in. Now, moving on, the day that I really wanted to leave was a day where I did not want to have relations with him. And he then forced me to give him fellatio. I know you're wondering, how does someone force you into doing that? When you are dealing with someone that is that big and you are that small and you're terrified of them and they have gotten away with so much and doing so many things, and you're still the one made out to be crazy and bitter, you're probably willing to do just about anything just to get through it. And that's where I was. After that, another nanny came into the picture. I knew this nanny was not okay. When she would drop our child off, he would sit in the doorway and he was hitting himself. Or he would be in the bathtub and he would be playing with himself in a really weird way that just didn't seem right. Of course, he was little, so he couldn't really vocalize things. But yeah, I could tell something wasn't right. There was the day where I invited her inside and I sat her down and I said, I just need to talk to you. And I said, have you ever put your hands on my son? And she swore up and down no. And I said, well, why is he sitting in a doorway hitting himself or playing with himself in a bathtub? And she was like, oh my God, I don't know. Why would you even ask me something like that? I said, because I want to know. She swore up and down that she had never put her hands on my son in an inappropriate way or even as a disciplinarian. I said, okay. And I said, but if I find out that you have ever put your hands on my son, we're going to have a problem. She asked me if that was a threat. I said, no, it's not a threat. It's a promise. She then went back and told them that I threatened her. And I told them the same thing, that I didn't threaten her, that I made a promise. And that's when things started getting hidden from me about what was going on at that house with my child. But I found out anyway. This is also around the time that Basketball Wives was coming to fruition.